Okay, so we are now looking at an assignment review, which is the GBS 616, Production and Operation Management. So there are two questions that came in this assignment. The first question is on forecasting and forecasting techniques, one of the topics among the 6 topics that are there in Pom. So the first one is on forecasting techniques. And in forecasting, we use regression and correlation analysis. So this question was on regression and correlation analysis. Okay, so the Mag Petroleum is a SME specializing in the sale of lubricants for industrial use. The company, which is owned and operated by Angelina, has just completed its 3rd year operation. During this time, Angelina has sought to establish a reputation for the company and the supply of high quality lubricant. The efforts made by Angelina and her staff have provided successful, and our company has become one of the best and the fastest growing privately owned company in Zambia. Angelina has concluded that in order to plan better for the growth of the company in the future, it is necessary to develop assistance that will enable her to forecast lubricant sales per month for up to 1 year in advance. Angelina has available data on the total lubricant sales that were realized during the previous 3 years of operation. These data are provided in the table. Okay, so we have the data that has been provided on the table, the table here. Now, what forecasting method would you recommend to Angelina? Justify your choice, and then we'll go to forecast the sales for January through December of the 4th year using the forecasting method you recommended in part A. All calculation should be to 3 decimal places. Okay, so now each of these years we have the 1st year, 2nd year, and 3rd year. Each year has 12 months. So meaning to forecast the year 4, we should use a regression analysis to come and substitute the figure so that we find for year 4. So year 4, we will be able to substitute the figures in the regression line for us to get the forecast for year 4. But what goes on in this course in Pom, in forecasting, this is not a simple regression. We are going to deseasonalize the data. So on this one, we are going to deseasonalize the data, and we'll explain what it means, what is involved when you are deseasonalizing the data. So this is what they want us to find the forecast, sales forecast for January through December of the 4th year or year 4. All right, so now getting down to this one, we are to check on the okay, so we are now to check on the use this document. So okay, so now the forecasting technique. The first question says, what forecasting technique can we use here? So the first question, the forecasting technique to use on question 1. Okay, the first one was asking us the forecasting technique to use. Okay, so they're saying which forecasting technique are we supposed to, can we use as we are forecasting here? The first question says, what forecasting method would you recommend to Anjali? Justify your choice. Okay, so the forecasting method to use here is the regression and the correlation analysis, where we need to find the regression line. So that's an explanation of the first part of the question. Okay, so we'll come here and say, okay, the forecasting method to use here on this one is the regression. and correlation analysis. Okay, in order to determine the sales forecast for the next period or the next year. Okay, so we are going to use the regression and correlation analysis. Now, the regression and correlation analysis requires the use of both the independent variable, which is x. X is a variable that exists on its own. So we have x value. And of course, we have also the dependent variable, which is y. So, okay, so we are going to have the independent variable, which is x, and the dependent variable, which is y, in order to find the forecast for the next period using the historical data. So we're going to use the historical data for us to find the forecast for the next period. Now, the regression line to use is given by, we have our y is a dependent variable, which is the sales, and then the x is the number of years. So if you talk about years, then this y, the alpha is the intercept, and the beta is the slope of the regression line. So this is just a build-up of this topic that was covered in quantitative method and the regression and correlation analysis to find the focus for the next period. So getting down to the part B of the question, the first question answers, the answer for the first question is just this forecasting method where we use the regression. This is the recommended method that we are going to now use to apply as we go to the other part of the question. Okay, so the other question now, the other part of the question says, focus the sales now. Using the same method we've recommended, the first one, focus the sales for January through December, the fourth year, using the forecasting method you have recommended in part A above. All right, so now this is about what is going on. So we have a number of months here from January to December for each of the year, for each year. So what we need to do is we need to deseasonalize the data now. Okay, so to deseasonalize the data, we simply divide the seasonal data by the respective index. So for part B, we need to calculate the seasonal index. So calculating the seasonal index is given by seasonal index is equal to monthly average divided by overall average. So we find the monthly average, then you divide by the overall average. And then the overall average is equal to overall total, then divide by the total number of measures. The average simply means the mean, okay, for the month, for each month, you find the mean for each month. And then also this is the mean for all months. All right, so now getting down to the table here, January through December of year one, we have 242, 263 for the second year, and 282. So the formula here is the monthly average over average. So find the monthly average, which is 262.33, the average of these three figures. Then you actually divide by 3. So we're getting 262.33. This is about the monthly average. So the overall average is equal to overall total divided by the total number of measures. So overall average is equal to overall total. So the total for everything else is 6,756. Okay, then divide by 36 months that we have, of course, each year has 12 months. So we are simply finding the total for all these values which are here for 36 months. This is the average for overall. Now we got the 187.667. This is the overall average. So meaning that as we get to find the seasonal index is equal to monthly average over average. So monthly average divided by over average, we're getting 1.398. And in this question, they are saying we need to round off to 3 decimal places. So we're going to 3 decimal places. So this is how the seasonal index, these ones were found by simply dividing monthly average over the over average. All right. Using these formulas, now we can move on. After finding a seasonal index, we now deseasonalize the data. After getting the seasonal index, we deseasonalize the data simply by dividing. So we now deseasonalize the data simply by dividing the seasonalized data by the respective seasonal index. So what we are doing, we are dividing, these are called seasonal data. These are seasonal. These data are called seasonal. So I simply say, so using the seasonal data, we can find the seasonal, we can seasonalize the data. So these are called seasonalized values, which are here, these ones. All right, so after getting the seasonal index, you need to now visualize the data simply by dividing. So you have divided 242 by 1.398. So all these values, we are dividing them by the seasonal index. Even for say for year 2, we will be dividing by the same index. Year 3 will be dividing by the same index so that we deseasonalize the data. All right, so now meaning we divide all these using this format, dividing all these cells by the seasonal index. So these are deseasonalized values. These are called values that are deseasonalized. So after getting these values, we get these values for each of the each year. Okay, these values are the ones I'm getting. They're called deseasonalized values. So using the values that are deseasonalized, we now compute the regression line. So year 3 also similarly, we are just here using the same concept of data deseasonalization. So after computing these figures, now we now use this table to find the regression line. So we are getting X values from 1 to 36 because there were 36 months, because each year has how many months? 12 months. So that's why we ended on 36 here. So after using this, entering the data in the calculator, where the Y values are the ones that we are using, the data that has been deseasonalized. So we are getting that X from here and Y, these are the values. We're multiplying to get XY. We're simply multiplying these two to get XY. Then the Y, we are just squaring this to get this. And then here we are using this one also to get the last one. So this data you can enter, we can compute manually to get the values that are total values here. After getting the total values, we now substitute in the equation to get the alpha, because we are using the regression line, which is alpha plus bx. So what is important is to understand how the values came about. So after this, we now get to define the alpha. You can enter even the data in the calculator. Using the calculator, you can enter or compute manually here. This figure is the beta is the slope. The alpha is what you're finding. This is the mean of y. So our y bar is equal to summation of y over n. Okay, then our x bar is equal to summation of x over n. Okay, so this is about what we have as we are getting the values. Okay, so from here, we now find the beta, which is the slope, by using this formula, substituting the figures that we have from the table here, or even if you enter the data in the calculator, you can just retrieve the values. Then we get our beta is giving us, substituting here, we are getting our beta as beta is 35, actually 0.909. So this is the beta value. All right. So after getting that, we are getting, you can now find the alpha. We already found here 170.76. Can even compare with these other figures here. So this is how these ones were computed. Okay, getting to these other figures here, 170, 0.9. So this is our beta. So the beta is the same. Here we are getting our beta. This is our beta here. And then this is our alpha. And substituting these, we are able to get the regression line, which is equal to y is equal to alpha, then plus bx. So from here, we will be able to compute and substitute and get whatever it is that we need, please. So what goes on, we substitute, and then using the regression analysis and the values that are deseasonalized, we can now find the forecast for year 4. Okay. So for year 4, these values are still deseasonalized values for year 4. So year 4 is starting at 36, getting down to 48. So we just have to use that, substitute in this regression line. We're substituting there to get the figures this side. So this is how the figures are coming up. So we're getting 204.395, the other one getting down. We are getting these figures using the regression line that has been deseasonalized, using the values that are deseasonalized values. All right, so this is about just a matter of rounding up and what. So this is 204 getting down. You're getting, so this is how these figures, this is where this 37 coming up, 38, getting down from here, getting down to 48 for year 4. Now, this is not the final way. We need now to get back to the values that are seasonalized. Okay, these figures are called deseasonalized values. But what we are looking for, we're looking for figures that are seasonalized. So we need to come on. So this is after getting these figures here, okay, which are called deseasonalized values, the values that are deseasonalized, we need to seasonalize the values. So we now, to find the seasonalized cells, we should multiply the values that are deseasonalized by the respective seasonal index. All right, so meaning the 204 we got multiplied by 1.39, 1.3. Okay, so we're multiplying that one by, we're multiplying this one by the respective season index. So this is what is going on there. Okay. So this is about what is going on. We're not getting the figures that are seasonalized. Okay, so these are now getting these values are the seasonal indexes for each of the months from January to December. So we are getting them from these seasonal indexes are coming from these ones. Okay, so they are coming from here. The seasonal indexes. We're using these same indexes to actually seasonalize the values. So we're using these indexes. We are multiplying now the values that we have found, the values that are deseasonalized. We are multiplying them by the seasonal indexes for us to get the seasonalized values. So this is about what is going on here on this one. Okay, so okay, so this is according to what is going on. So we are now getting down to the values. So the values that are seasonalized, we are getting to these ones. So these ones are called the seasonalized cells. So this marks the end of question 1 of this problem. So these are seasonalized values after using the data that is deseasonalized. All right, so now getting down to the second question. So we can go to question 2 now. So question 2 is actually, so this marks the end of the part B of the question 1. We're now getting down to question 2 of this problem. Question 2 was on MRP, which is material requirement planning. All right. The first one was on forecasting. So what is going on here? We are going to look at the MRP now. MRP has 6 components, like I mentioned in the other class. So those components we'll get it down so that you understand them thoroughly. A company manufactures two products, A and B. Each product A requires 2 C's and 1 D. Then each D requires 2 F's and 1 E, while each E requires 1 F. Each product B requires 1 D and 2 E's. The table below shows the data from inventory records. So we need now to check, we need to determine and find out what's going on. The lot sizing rules are given for each item, for each product. For C is fixed order quantity, D is lot for lot, and then E is fixed order quantity, then F is period order quantity. And the lead times are given 3 weeks. That's the time between when an order is placed and when an order is received. Then in schedule receipts, these are units of the commodity that we receive from our suppliers. And then we have the opening stock, which is the beginning stock that we have for each product, given 25 for C, 0 for D, E is 150, and F is 600. So we need to, the MPS for product A calls for 85 units to be started in week 3 and 100 units to be started in week 6. The MPS for this is master production schedule for product B calls for 180 units to be started in week 5. Develop the MRP plan showing the gross requirements, the schedule receipts, the on hand, the net requirement, and planned order releases for the next 6 weeks for items C, D, and F. 30 marks for this. So what is important now is to come up with the product structure tree coming up from here. All right, so each A requires 2 C's and 1 D. Okay, so now we will say A requires 2 C's and 1 D. Okay, so A requires 2 C's and 1 D. Then the other one, okay, so that one requires 2 C's and 1 D. And then each D requires 2 F's and 1 E. So we are getting the structure from this information that has been given in the question. So each D requires 2 F's and 1 E. Each D requires 2 F's and 1 E. 2 F's D requires 2 F's and 1 E. All right, and then well, each E requires 1 F. Each E requires 1 F, so each E requires 1 F. Okay, so which is the structure for product A. All right, so we get now to B, what B is about. So this structure is coming from the information given in the question. And the other one says each B requires 1 D and 2 E's. Each B requires 1 D and 2 E's. All right, so now D requires 1 D and 2 E's. Okay, so D requires 1 D and 2 E's. Okay, so this structure, for the sake of just the repetition for this structure, but for the sake of preparing the MRP, these other ones here will not consider them when preparing the MRP for each item, but for the sake of the structure, it is needed, it is required that should be there for the sake of the structure. Otherwise, as we look at the MRP records, we'll only come and end on this part here. Okay, as we prepare the MRP, we just consider this information up here. This is just a duplication. Now we just repeat because this is the same E. So we just continue for the structure, for the sake of the structure here to say E requires 1 F and D requires 2 F's. Okay, so this is about the one we have. This structure is supposed to be like this. Now we can now get into the MRP for these items. So the information has been given concerning the requirements for products A and B. So meaning that these other products, they depend A and B. Without them, these other products will not be there. C, D, F, these ones will not be there. So the first thing to do is to consider the products, the final products. These are called final. Product A and B. I mean, this one is a final product. So what goes on now is we start by preparing. These other ones, they're coming from A and they're coming from B. So they have given us the information to do with A and B. They're saying MPS for A calls for 85 units to be started in week 3. And then 100 units to be started in week 6. So this one has already been there. That's why even on the table, it's not there, meaning that they have told us the requirements for A and B already. So these are there's no need for us to prepare for A. A and B, they have already prepared for them. All right, so now we have 85 units to be started in week 3. and 100 units to be started in week 6. And then the MPS for product B calls for 180 units to be started in week 5. So we can now prepare the MRP for C, D, E, and F. Okay, so getting down to MRP for C, of course, A has been given. They require 85 units in week 3. And then there's also 100 units in week 6. That of B, we require 180 units in week 5. All right, so now we need to so these are, they've just prepared already. So meaning A and B, they have given us where these values, so we can straight away start preparing C. So there's no need for us to prepare A and B because these ones are given already. But we have to take note that for product C is coming from A, and C is coming from A, so we are supposed to multiply what is coming from A by the number, the quantity that is here. So the quantity that is here for C is a 2. All right, so quantity that is here is a 2. So meaning what is coming from A, you multiply by 2. So meaning as we prepare MRP for C, we multiply 85 by 2, 100 by 2. So the gross requirements for product C is 170 units in week 3 because we are multiplying. This is coming from A, and also this is coming from A according to the structure that is there. The structure is that C is coming from A. So whatever is coming from A, you multiply by 2. So we know what is there. So we are multiplying by 2. So we are getting the 170 and 200. Those are the gross requirements. Now we don't have to forget, we need to go and check what is the schedule receipts for C. So the information is there. For C, we have the fixed order quantity of 220 units. So when there's a net requirement, when there's a shortage, we need to order 220 units. So this is a fixed aspect. We don't order the shortage. We order the fixed ordering policy of 200 units. Even if the requirement is less than that, but we need to order 220 units. And then the lead time taken between when an order is placed and when an order is received is 3 weeks. The scheduled receipt C is 280 units in week 1. The on-hand beginning inventory is 25. So these two, every time these two, they are added because this is what you have opened with as on-hand stock. Then the scheduled receipts, these are units that you purchase from your suppliers. You have received them from suppliers because you have bought. So plus whatever it is that you have on hand. So these two, they are actually added for us to see the total stock available so that we can now check if we can meet our demand, which is a gross requirement. So from here now, we have seen for C that we have this information, so which is what we use only for C. When we go to D, we are supposed to check what they have been given for D, similarly for E and that of F. So we have the fixed order quantity of 220, 3 times 3 weeks, so we can now check. So you have the gross requirements of that. The scheduled receipts is 280 units. So these usually they are added, the on hand plus the scheduled receipts for us to find the total stock available. So the total stock available is 305. To meet the demand of 0, we still remain with a 305. Then in week 2, we have this, you can add the 305, which is there, plus 0, then minus what is there on hand. The gross requirement is 0, so it's 305. 305 plus 0 minus 170, you're getting 135 on hand. So 135 plus 0, then minus the 0 demand, gross requirement, we are going to have on hand still is 135. 135 plus 0 minus 0 is still 135. 135 plus 0 to meet the demand of 200, if we have a shortage, which is the net requirement. So the shortage in this week is what we have as 65. So when we have the shortage, what is needed now is for us to make an order. So in this week, we have received an order of 220 because there's a problem. So this 220 that we have received, we can sort out this 220 minus the net requirement, 220 minus the net requirement of 65. we're supposed to have the 155 here. So we put the 155 on that one. So meaning that here, for us to have a receipt of 220 here in this week 6 means that we're supposed to have the release in week 3 because the lead time is 3 weeks. So lead time is 3 weeks. So this 220 was supposed to be released in week 3. So this is it about what is going on. So meaning that as we look at question 3 for product C, on this other side, of course, we can make the comparisons. We can see there's a 220 here, which is coming in week 3. Okay, so we have rent requirement and on hand is 155 there. So this is what we have. This is the MRP for item C, because the lead time is actually 3 weeks. So this is the 220 we have here in week 3, 1 to 3. All right, so that we see this is the 220 we have in week 3. Okay, so now we go to the other product, which is product D. So for product D, we have to check where the D is coming from. So D is coming from, you go back to the structure so that we see where the D is coming from. If it is coming from 2 different sources, we need to combine and then come up with a single. So D is coming from A, as well as D is coming from B. So we need to combine because it's a single product we're talking about. It's the same product D we're talking about. So we should combine whatever values that was coming. So from A by 1 goes to D. And of course, from B by 1, because the quantity is 1. So from B goes to D because the quantity is 1. And then from D comes from A, is coming from A, by the quantity is 1 this side. So meaning that we need to combine them. So we go for D from A. D from A, we check the structure here. D from A is 85. So this one will go to D by 1. Even this one will go to D by 1. Okay. So now what is going to happen is we now combine the D is coming from B also by 1. So our product structure, our MRP for D will be for A by 1. So this is for this one is coming from, is a D coming from A, and there's also a D coming from B by 1. So this is where this 85 is coming from. It's coming from the values of A by 1 because of the structure that we have there. And we combine what is coming from B so that we come up with MRP for a single product D. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The gross requirements we have, which is a 0 there in week 1. In week 2, we have a 0. Week 3, we are going to have 85, because it's coming from A. Then for B also is 180, because it's coming from B. And then this other one is coming from A. So we have combined what is coming from both A and B so that we come up with a single product D. Then from here, we need to check, do we have anything to do with the scheduled receipts? Because this is the format of the MRP. There are 6 components. The first one, like I mentioned, we have the gross requirements, the scheduled receipts, the on-hand net requirements, the planned order receipt, and planned order release. This is the format, the standard way that's supposed to be. So these are the gross requirements coming from different products A and B. Then the scheduled receipts, we have to check the inventory status file for D. So for D, we are using lot for lot. The on-hand is 0. We have a 0 here. None of scheduled receipts is 0 as well. The lead time is 2 weeks. And then we are using a lot for lot. So here we are using a lot for lot. So this is about product D that we need to go for. So as we check there, no on hand, no scheduled receipts, but we have lot for lot. So lot for lot means you order the net requirements. The fixed order quantity means even if the requirement is less than that, you order the fixed amount of units. So we are going to have a D. We are going to have the scheduled receipts 0, 0 in week 1, week 2. Week 3 is also 0. Week 4 is also 0. Week 5 is 0. Week 6 is 0. The on hand was 0 for each of these. So 0 plus 0 to meet the demand of 0, we are still remaining with 0. 0 plus 0, you add these two. To meet the demand of that, we remain with a 0. Then the 0 plus 0 to meet the demand of 85. The net requirement here is 85. That's the shortage. So when we have the shortage of this amount, which is 85, we now need to order, whatever we order here is the net requirement. When we're using lot for lot, simply means we should order the net requirements. So that's why we are ordering the whatever it is, whatever shortage we have is what we order. So we have ordered this to meet the requirement of 85, then we are going to remain with a 0. Then 0 plus 0 to meet the demand of 0, we remain with a 0. 0 plus 0 to meet the demand of 180, we have the net requirement of 180. Now, this 180 is what we need to order when we are looking at lot for lot. Lot for lot means order the net requirement. So order NR. So you order the net requirements for lot. So meaning that here we are going to have this to meet the demand of 180. We have a shortage of 180. So we order the same 180. We sort out, we remain with 0. Then 0 plus 0 to meet the demand of 100. There is a net requirement, which is a shortage of 100. We order the same shortage, 100. Then we check what lead time we have here. For us to have a receipt of 85 in week 3, we check lead time. So lead time is 2 weeks. So meaning that that would have been released 2 weeks before. That's why we're saying this one should have been released 2 weeks before. Even this other one would have been released 2 weeks before. Even this one should have been released 2 weeks before. So this is how we are coming up with it, the MRP for D in that way. Now we check the MRP for F. Okay, that's the MRP for E. MRP for E, we have to look at the structure where E is coming from. When we do a combination, we combine. So E is coming from the D. We check where the E is coming from. So E is coming from D, as well as E is coming from B. Okay, so E is coming from D and E is coming from B, but from B is by 2. That from E from D is by 1. So the D that we've prepared, we need to multiply the E coming from D by the quantity that is there. We combine with the one D coming from B. Okay, that E coming from B by 2. So we need to combine these two because it's a single product. So we are going to have the D that we've prepared goes to E by 1 and that of B. B is 180 already we have by 2. So this one will be by 2. Then here, E from D is by 1. So the D we are from preparing is this one. It will be by 1. Then the one coming from the other one here, we are coming from the one coming from B is by 2. So this E is by 2. Coming from B is by 2. So meaning this 180 times 2 is 360 here, which was coming from B. Then that coming from D, it was D 18, this is 85. And then there's also a D here coming from D, it was by 1. So here it was by 1. So it was 85 by 1. So it will not change because the quantity was 1 for that one. So 85, 180, and 100. So this is about what we have concerning MRP for product E. Now, E, we need to check what is happening. Fixed order going to 300 units. So meaning when there's a problem, we need to order 300 units of the commodity whenever there is a shortage, whenever there's a net requirement. Net requirement simply means the shortage. All right, so now, as we get to this, we have to check what we have as on hand. On hand is 150. And then we have the short receipts of 300 in week 3. So here 300 week 3, which is this one. On hand is 150. So we have the 150 plus 0 to meet the demand of 85, remain is 65. 65 plus 0 to meet the demand of 0 is 65. 65 plus 300 minus 180 is 185. So 65 plus 300 minus 180 is 185. 185 plus 0 minus 100 is 85. 85 plus 0 minus 360. We are going to have 85 minus 360, which is the demand. We have a shortage, which is the net requirement in this week. So when we have the net requirements, that's when you need to make an order. You place an order, you receive that order. Order receipt is in a period where you have net requirements. I emphasize order receipts, planned order receipt to be in the week or period where you have the net requirements. So here we're going, even if the net requirement is the shortage here is 275, we order a fixed batch of 300 units. So we can now sort out this issue. Okay, we sort out the requirements, and okay, now we're going to remain with on hand of 25. Okay, so of course there was an order receipt of 300. So in the period when you have the net requirements, this is a period that you need now to the order receipt. So order receipt is 300. Okay, so the 300, this is what we have to sort out the requirement 275, remain on hand of 25. 25 plus 0 minus the demand, which is 0, then we are going to have still on hand of 25 units. So for us to have a receipt in week 5, it means we placed an order 3 weeks before because of the lead time that is there. Lead time is it's 3 weeks for product E. Lead time is 3 weeks for product E. So that would have been released 3 weeks before. So that's why this one comes here. So this is how you find this MRP for E. Okay, so under this one, you can even confirm this MRP for D. We have these figures. For E, we have 300 units coming in this week 2. Okay, so this is only the MRP for product E, where you have this 25 and that. Okay, so we now get to the last one, which is MRP for the product. The one that is remaining is MRP for product F. So MRP for product F, you check where the F is coming from. So we go back to the product structure tree that we actually obtained. So the product structure tree will just help us to get the F. So F coming from D, and there's also F coming from E. This other one, it was just for the sake of the extension of the tree, but it's not supposed to be considered for this F because it's the same product, so it's just duplicated here for the sake of the structure. So we have this MRP for F will come from F coming from E, F coming from D. We combine because it's a single product. So whatever came from D, if it was wrong, it will affect the answer for F. F is also coming from E. So we check F from E, it's by 1. F from D is by 2. So we go back to D, what we got for D, multiply all those by the quantity by 2. The releases of D will be the gross requirements for F. Also, of course, we'll combine with what is coming from E. All right, so now for D, going to F by 2, so we multiply whatever you came obtained for D by 2. So this one will be by 2 by 2. These ones, the way they are in the same weeks, the way they are. So 85 by 2. So here to be 85 by 2, 170. And then it was also from D, it was 180 by 2 in week 3. Okay, and then we have the other one. Okay, so MRP for, yeah, so we have this one by 2 because of the structure, even 100 by 2. Okay, so this one was supposed to be MRP for F. The E has been prepared. This is MRP for F. Okay, so MRP for F. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the gross requirements, we have 85 by 2, which is 170. This is coming from, we check where it's coming from. So it's coming from D. So we go to the strike F from D by 2. So this is coming from D. So for F here, this is coming from D. This is also coming from D. This is also coming from D. All right. So now there is also by 2. This is from D by 2. Now there's also F coming from E. So F coming from E by 1. So we go to E. E is this one. So E is this one by 1. Okay, so it's a 300 here. We use this 300, the release. So the releases are the ones we use as they go to the other product. So this one will be by 1. So it is E. This is where 300 came from. It came from E. And then we check the inventory status file. Inventory status file for F. We are using the period order quantity of 2. Lead time is 2 weeks. The scheduled receipts is none, which is 0. The on-hand beginning inventory is 600. So meaning that we need to now go for the 6 items, the gross requirements, the way they're supposed to be. So we're using period order quantity of 2 weeks here. So this is a lot size, which means the production rule. So now what goes on here, we say gross requirements, which is the same as demand. And then we have, so this is demand. Okay, so now we have the other one, which is the scheduled receipts, the units that we receive from our suppliers. So scheduled receipts from the information is 0, according to what we've been given here. Scheduled receipts is none, which is 0. On hand is 600, so it's 600 here. 600 plus 0, this is what we have available stock, plus 0, this is 0, minus the demand of 170, you have the 430 on hand. This one plus 0 minus the demand of 300, you're going to have a 130. 130 plus 0 minus the demand of 360, we are going to have on hand of 200. 200 plus 0, all right. So we have this one, we are going to say 130 plus 0 minus the 360. We have net requirement of 230. All right, so we have the net requirements of 230 in this way, because it's 130 plus 0 to meet 360. It's not enough. We have the net requirement, which is a shortage in this week. So when you have this shortage, what you do is, in this case, they are telling us that order for 2 periods. Order the requirements of that period. So order the demand of that period, meaning order the 360, because of a problem. So order for these 2 periods. So order the 360 plus the 200 minus what is already there. So we're going to order the 360, which is the 360. We order 360 plus the 200. Then minus what is already there, which is 130. So we are going to order the 430 in this week. So we're going to have this one, 360. We order the 360 here in this period because we have a problem. We have a shortage in this week. Net requirement to 230. We should order the 360 plus the 200. Then minus what is already there. So what is already here is 130. So meaning the 560 here minus what is already there, which is the 130. So we should order 430 units so that we can sort out this problem. So we sort out this requirement, we still remain with a 200. Okay, so we have ordered for the period order quantity of 2 weeks, means in the weeks where we have the net requirements week 3. So we order for the demand of week 3 and 4 minus what is already there. So we are ordering the 360 plus 200 minus what is already there, which is 130. So we are ordering 430 to meet the requirement of 230. We are going to still remain with a 200. 200 plus 0 minus the demand of 200, we remain with a 0. 0 plus 0 minus the demand gross requirement of 0, we remain with a 0. 0 plus 0 minus the gross requirement of 0, remain with a 0. And then we check the aspect of what we have on lead time. Lead time is 2 weeks. So this is the time between when an order is placed and when an order is received. So meaning that we are going to have this would have been released 2 weeks before. So this is about how this question came in. So this is on MRP. So what is important as we look at material requirement planning is just to make sure that we do the product structure tree correctly. Then you find that you get everything correct. So under this product F MRP, you can even confirm it on this other side. You find that you have a 430 for F in that week. So this is product F. It's product E. So they are getting tallying the same ones as the 430 here. Okay, so that is what we have for set in this week one. The other one we have is this one here. So you just really need to understand, need to go through this material. If there's any concern, if there's any question or problem, you're free to ask questions. So yes, this product structure tree is what is very, very important as you look at MRP. From here, then you can build up and start preparing the MRP for each product. So you have done MRP for product C, MRP for product D, MRP for product E, and MRP for product F. So this marks the end of this assignment. Unless there are any other questions, unless there are any questions.